Hey, it's Matt, your average gamer, and this is a Death Ritual Spear build, along with Death's Poker that's going to be coming up as well. First things first, you got to kill the Deathrite bird that's in Mountaintops of the Giants. This is how you get Death Ritual Spear. As for fighting him, he's a little bit difficult. They leave a lot of Ghost Flame in their tracks. They have a lot of AoE. There's various ways to cheese them along with many of the field bosses. But for me personally, I got him on the first try. It wasn't overly difficult. In a short order, I'm going to show you where it is on the map real quick. But just want to go over real quick. This has Spear Call Ritual on it, which is kind of like Rain of Arrows, except a magic version. We're going to get into that. Very good against larger targets. It definitely has utility in Eldenring, and it's going to turn into a fantastic build that combos with Death's Poker. Here it is on the map, by the way, in a second. It's by Castle Sol in Mountaintops of the Giants. You probably see the prompt come up when you're heading down towards Castle Sol, because generally speaking, he'll attack you, and he's right there in Mountaintops of the Giants. First things first, we got to test the Ash of War Spear Call Ritual. See how much damage it does and what it can do, because I never really used this before. So it kind of acts like Thunderbolt, except it's a magic version of that in combination with Rain of Arrows. All magic damage. The Ash of War, just like Death's Poker, scales purely off of the intelligence stat. And against larger targets, as you can tell here, it can chew through their HP very, very easily because all of the spears tend to hit them, and it does a lot of damage, especially when buffed with things like Golden Vow, Howl, Shabriri. It does a lot of damage to larger targets. This is something that's really strong against large enemies in the game. And later on, we're going to combo it with Death's Poker and show you how much damage they can do together. Before we take on this dragon, just want to mention real quick, if you're not subbed to my channel and you love overpowered PvE builds, or you love From Software games or Elden Ring in general, definitely hit that subscribe button. Ton of awesome builds over there. Definitely check those out. As you can tell here with larger targets, as mentioned earlier, it's absolutely fantastic against them because it hits them so consistently, so well, lands right on top of them, and does a lot of damage. Scales purely with the INT stat on the Ash of War, and scales roughly up to 50 or 55 to 60 intelligence roughly, and you can get a lot of damage out of its Ash of War, much like Death's Poker. Now, it doesn't have Frost buildup, but it does do posture damage, which is a huge bonus too. Being able to posture break something as large as this dragon kind of felt good, I'm not going to lie, especially on an Ash of War. The fact that it throws in a little bit of posture damage on top of the magic damage it does, and the fact that you're basically getting a spammable Rain of Arrows, it's an awesome Ash of War when utilized properly. It's definitely something I enjoy using. In a lot of cases, like here, it is better to throw out a summon in this case because it's not as quick as, say, Thunderbolt, so you can get stuck in the Ash of War, and you can get hit by something that has a lot of reach, like this gargoyle, or enemies in the game that generally have a lot of reach or fast attacks will hit you because it's a little bit longer of an animation, but it does a lot of damage. It hits really hard, and I wanted to throw the summon out here, and in the next video, I think, coming up with Plastidusax, to show how much damage this can do, and to show the damage potential it has. And the damage potential it has is actually pretty high. It's very, very good, even though it is a utility weapon. By the way, stats and equipment, everything you need is going to be at the end of the video. At the end of this video, there's going to be the stats and equipment and everything you'll need to make this build happen and to make this build work with Death's Poker. This is when I first started to use Death's Poker in combination. So this was my first time using this combo. Now, I didn't want three things in my right hand because I did have the staff for Terra Magika, so I decided to switch to the two-hand, and I had to get used to two-handing the left hand and right hand to go back. But if you manage to switch this fast enough, you can do the L2 and R1 that leaves the trail, build up Frost, build up damage, then switch to Spear Call and rain basically arrows on spears on top of them. You can stack a ton of damage together while doing Frost damage, and honestly, you're going to see a couple bosses here coming up. It works really well. Plastidusax can always be a pain, but as we get past him here, and we're going to get past him here very shortly, there's going to be a couple bosses that come up that are absolutely awesome with this combination. I didn't even really think of this until I started messing around with both, and then I realized between the trail that it leaves, the Frost buildup that's there, that usually procs most of the time, and then the Spear Call to kind of rain down, get that extra damage, turns into a great combination for mages, especially since the Ashes of War scale almost purely with the intelligence stat. which gives both weapons a lot of utility and even more utility for mages when they're combined together. And I'll even go as far as to say, this is overpowered together. If you use it properly, if you're able to get the switch on, it manages to double down on the damage, do massive damage, all magic damage, again, primarily scaling with intelligence, so definitely something that you can use as a mage, especially since the higher stats, I think the highest you need is maybe 20 dex and 17 strength, and you only need the minimum for those. So don't go and invest anything in dex or strength, and I would recommend that for these weapons in all circumstances, because even the Death Poker, which has the innate frost, I believe, on it, it doesn't really matter though, because the Ash of War does way more frost, so you're always better off with both going pure intelligence and getting all of that damage out of it, and the minimum requirements, which at maximum, possibly between the Spear and Death's Poker, 20 strength, or 20 dex, 17 strength. Not too bad there, and not a hefty investment. And don't worry, if you hung for this long, the bosses where we absolutely destroy with this combo are coming up, and we're able to utilize it much better as I practice switching between both. Or again, if you want to go with 3 things in your right hand, you can do that as well. A little bit challenging, but once you get used to it, it's incredibly damaging. Those of you who know my videos know that there's one boss I always like to pick on, and that's Mog. I really like to pick on Mog. I don't know why, but between the shackle, the fact that he just gets stuck trying to go into phase 2 most of the time, it just makes my life a lot easier. So let's go and beat up on Mog using this combination. First, we're going to start with Death's Poker, that L2 and R1, to get that frost on him, to build up that frost and get the continuous damage. And we're going to stack that a bit, back up, and then rain some arrows on him, spears rather. I keep saying arrows because it looks like rain of arrows. But we're going to drop the spears on him, do a lot of damage, and yeah, goodbye Mog. That wasn't even a challenge. This is Journey 9, by the way, so this is max scale. He's got 30,000 HP, and he pretty much vanished. That was incredibly easy when timed properly. Honestly, awesome. I couldn't have asked for better results, could I? I mean, honestly, he got completely destroyed by it. And as you can tell here, we're going to use Terra Magika. That's why we have the staff. And then once again, we're going to lay out that initial frost proc with that damage that kind of continues. Drop the spears on him. And in just no time, this tree avatar goes down very quickly, just like Mog did. He did get one hit on me, but no big deal there. Spear Call Ritual by itself is really decent. I mean, it's not bad. On a scale of D being the worst and S being the best, I would probably give it maybe like a B- or so, because it has good utility, especially against larger targets. But Death's Poker definitely takes the cake. Out of these two, Death's Poker is better. I'm going to leave the pure Death's Poker build in the description below, although they're very similar, and as you can tell, we're on max scaling, but it is still a Gil. He doesn't have a ton of HP, but he got completely destroyed by it. We did a ton of damage, and he went down very quickly. Are you looking to beat up on mobs? Well, if you're looking to beat up on mobs, then Spear Call Ritual might actually be better. Honestly, if you can get things grouped up, and you saw that earlier in my video, you can absolutely destroy mobs with Death Ritual Spear and Spear Call Ritual. You can spam this thing like crazy in groups, and groups just take a ton of damage. So once we get the Death's Poker part over with that we're just messing around with here, we're going to use Spear Call Ritual to get a ton of damage, and as you can tell, it completely destroys mobs. They don't even stand a chance as it rains down. They can't shield themselves. I always test stuff at gate front, and they get completely destroyed by its Ash of War. All in all, it's awesome that these two have very similar stats, and they're both very buffable in the same respects, and they can be used with the same exact build, and that makes everything all the better. For this, we have Death Ritual Spear. Any staff will do. Death's Poker, any seal will do. Spellblade set increases the damage by 8% if you want to use that. Ritual Sword, Talisman, Magic Scorpion Charm, Shard of Alexander, Dragoncrest Greatshield Talisman, and we have the Magic Terra to maximize our damage as well. Now before we go into stats, my mage is at level 200 because I'm on Journey 9. But keep in mind, this is very easy to do at 150. You just need 55 to 60 intelligence and the minimum dex and strength requirements, which is going to total you at, I think, 20 dex and 17 strength. meaning that vigor, mind, all the other stats is totally up to you as far as what you want to do with that stuff. So this is definitely doable at 150 or lower. I just did it on my mage character because I have everything and because I was in position to fight field bosses and have a lot of fun, and it was fun. This is definitely a great combination. If you're not subbed and you love overpowered PvE builds, definitely sub to this channel. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll catch you guys there.